What if the most powerful thing in your wallet doesn't actually exist? Imagine opening your banking app one morning. Your balance is gone. Not because you spent it, not because someone stole your cash, but because access to it has been frozen. Nothing physical has disappeared. No vault was emptied. No notes were burned, yet your ability to buy food, pay rent, or fill your car with fuel changes instantly. That raises a strange question. What exactly is money? A banknote is just printed paper. A balance in your account is simply digital information stored on computers. Neither can feed you, neither can build a house. Neither has value because of the material it's made from, yet together they shape almost every decision modern societies make. Why? Because money isn't valuable for what it is. It's valuable because of what people believe it represents. The King's Impossible Wish. One of the oldest stories about wealth begins in ancient Greece. King Midas is offered a single wish. He chooses the power to turn everything he touches into gold. At first, it seems like unlimited prosperity. Trees become gold. Furniture becomes gold. Walls become gold. Then reality catches up. Food becomes gold before he can eat it. Water hardens into metal before he can drink. In later versions of the myth, even his daughter becomes a golden statue after a single embrace. Midas receives exactly what he asked for and discovers that wealth alone cannot replace what gives life meaning. The story is often described as a warning against greed, but it also explores something deeper. A system without limits eventually begins consuming the person who created it. The largest shared agreement in history. Money feels tangible. Its value does not. Throughout history, societies have used shells, salt, silver, gold, paper, and now digital numbers as money. None of those objects possess purchasing power on their own. They function because people collectively agree that they do. Economists describe money as a social institution. It solves a practical problem. Instead of exchanging chickens for wheat or shoes for vegetables, everyone agrees to use a common medium of exchange. That agreement creates extraordinary efficiency. But it also reveals something fascinating. The value of money exists primarily in shared trust. If confidence collapses, the system changes almost overnight. History has seen currencies become nearly worthless, not because the paper changed, but because belief in its purchasing power disappeared. Money isn't simply printed. It's continuously maintained through collective confidence. What money changes inside the mind? Money doesn't only influence economies, it influences psychology. Researchers Kathleen Vohs, Nicole Mead, and Miranda Good conducted a series of influential experiments examining how subtle reminders of money affected behavior. Participants exposed to money-related cues often became more independent. They preferred solving problems alone. They were less likely to ask others for assistance. They were also somewhat less likely to offer help spontaneously. Importantly, these findings do not suggest money makes people selfish. Rather, money appears to encourage a mindset centered on self-sufficiency. That shift carries advantages. It also carries trade-offs. The psychological effects are more nuanced than simple moral judgments. When scarcity occupies the mind, money's absence shapes thinking just as powerfully. Economist Sendil Mullainathan and psychologist Eldar Shafir studied how scarcity affects decision-making. Their research suggests financial strain consumes mental resources. When people constantly worry about paying bills, making rent, or covering necessities, part of their attention remains occupied by those immediate concerns. That leaves fewer cognitive resources available for planning, long-term thinking, and complex decisions. This isn't merely a question of discipline, it's a measurable psychological effect. Scarcity narrows attention. Sometimes that focus helps people solve urgent problems. Sometimes it makes escaping those problems even harder. Money doesn't simply buy opportunities. It changes the amount of mental bandwidth available to navigate them. When scarcity is manufactured. Scarcity is not always natural. Sometimes it is deliberately created. One of the most famous examples involves diamonds. During much of the 20th century, the De Beers Company exercised enormous influence over the global diamond market. By controlling supply and launching memorable advertising campaigns, including the famous slogan, "A diamond is forever," the company helped associate diamonds with romance, commitment, and rarity. This became one of history's most successful marketing campaigns. The lesson extends far beyond jewelry. When money exists only as information. As payments become increasingly digital, another question becomes important. What changes when money no longer exists primarily as physical cash? Digital payments offer remarkable convenience. Transfers happen almost instantly. Businesses operate more efficiently. International transactions become easier. But digital systems also introduce new possibilities. In a digital system, changing access may require nothing more than updating information in a database. The debate over digital currency. That reality helps explain growing discussions surrounding central bank digital currencies, often called CBDCs. Several countries are actively researching or piloting government-issued digital currencies. China's digital yuan has already seen real-world deployment. The European Central Bank continues exploring a digital euro. Supporters argue CBDCs could reduce transaction costs, improve payment efficiency, combat fraud, and expand financial inclusion. Critics raise different concerns. If digital currencies become programmable, governments could theoretically impose spending conditions, expiration dates, or restrictions depending on how the systems are designed. Whether those possibilities become reality depends on legal safeguards, governance, and public policy. Why control matters so much? Psychology offers another piece of the puzzle. Self-determination theory, developed by psychologists Edward Deci and Richard Ryan, identifies autonomy as one of humanity's basic psychological needs. People generally experience greater well-being when they feel their choices genuinely belong to them. Losing that sense of control often increases stress, anxiety, and helplessness. Perhaps this explains why discussions about money often become surprisingly emotional. For many people, financial control feels deeply connected to personal autonomy. Money is information. Perhaps the most surprising realization is also the simplest. Money is not food. It is not shelter. It is not energy. It is not happiness. It is information. A shared system that records claims on goods, services, labor, and resources. It allows strangers to cooperate on an extraordinary scale. That may be one of humanity's greatest inventions. Not because the numbers themselves possess magic, but because billions of people trust them enough to coordinate their lives around them. If this gave you a new way to think about the world, subscribe. Every week, we explore the hidden ideas behind history,